Hi, I'm Tina,
And I'm Rich.
and if there's one thing we've learned in over 20 years of marriage,
It's that some days you'll feel like killing your wife.
and some days you'll feel like killing your husband.
Welcome to Love, Marry, Kill.
Hey, Rich,
Hey, Tina.
how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Today is the season finale of White Lotus.
Oh, yes.
And normally we watch it a couple of days later, but we've all agreed that we're going to stay up and watch it tonight.
Yeah, because it's going to be hard not to hear any spoilers. That show has been like everywhere.
It's been like wildfire, and it's been fun. I think as a society, we have less collective experiences.
Yeah.
And with not Succession, Severance and White Lotus, it seems like people are really
I was
loving
thinking
these
the
shows.
same thing. It's like those two shows seem to have like really latched on to everybody's consciousness.
So apparently we're not the only ones that want to pay for every single streaming service available. It's ridiculous how much we're paying for, and we still have cable because we're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But actually, we are dinosaurs, but it's for sports mostly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you have any predictions?
For the White Lotus finale, I don't know. I think everyone is saying that Chelsea,
That is, yeah.
as
Chelsea
Amy Lou Wood's character, that she is going to die.
She's so great.
Yeah, she is awesome.
The season has been, it's just great. And I want to kind of like rewatch it because you're so focused on the story that I think you miss a lot of the cinematography and the music and kind of the hints and the clues.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched White Lotus,
it is
definitely.
really well done.
Yeah.
Well, what is your prediction? People will be listening to this after it's over. So.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to give any spoilers. Just fast forward, 10 seconds ahead. I had heard like the season is about threes, and that kind of made sense. Like it's possible that three people could possibly die.
Okay.
And Chelsea keeps saying like bad things happen in threes. So possibly something like that. I don't know, but I've heard that Mike White may have written it like in after a fever dream or something, and he stayed true to whatever happened in his fever dream.
Okay.
So,
well,
anyway,
expect the unexpected then.
Right. So I did bring you a snack that one of our Sweetie Pie listeners sent us.
A Sweetie Pie listener.
They're all Sweetie Pies. I just love them all so much. But this comes from our friend Anne from Port Chester, New York.
Oh.
You're gonna like these.
Okay.
You're gonna be pretty excited. She sent us a couple of different things from Entenmann's.
Oh, excellent.
I don't know, is it Entenmann's or Entenmann's? I think it's Entenmann's.
Yeah, there's like an N in there, but yeah.
There's an N in there, but I don't know if you say it.
I don't know either, but I don't care. They taste really good. So what did she send us?
These little like Twinkie-like things with like this big hunk of chocolate on the top and crumb cakes. I mean, these are good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to try them real quick?
I sure do.
The two things that you sampled are fudge iced golden cakes and mini crumb cakes.
Okay.
So what do you
I
rate
call them both delicious.
Yeah, they're really yummy. What would you rate the golden cakes, the Twinkie-like things?
I would give it a 9 out of 10 only because I wish it had filling inside.
I agree with you 100%. I thought the exact same thing because it's such like a Twinkie-like consistency.
To be fair, I think it's your fault because you said it's like a Twinkie, and I thought, okay, it's like a Twinkie. That means there's going to be filling, but it was still very good.
Yeah, very good. And what do you rate the mini crumb cakes?
I'm going to give that a 10 out of 10. That was really good.
I think Anne thought that we didn't have Entenmann's here, but we do. And it's kind of something that we didn't have growing up very often. But when we did, it was, kind of like a special occasion. Yeah. They have donuts and coffee cakes, and I think they have chocolate chip cookies, but it's kind of very close to homemade, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely processed, but I think they're much better than like a Little Debbie, I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
No offense to Little Debbie, because she does a lot of great things over there in her bakery too.
But they are a little more authentic, maybe.
Yeah, they taste a little fresher, I think. Well, thank you so much, Anne. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Anne.
Well, I have got a pretty incredible case to tell you about today. Our listener, Amanda, recommended this case, and I was working on a different case that our writer-researcher Owen did for us that I should have been presenting, But when a listener recommends a case, I usually try to give it a quick Google just so before I put it in our document, just so I get an idea of what it was. And I just started researching this case, and before I knew it, I had 3,000 words of notes, and it's just a really interesting case. So thank you, Amanda, for recommending this case, and thank you to everyone that's recommended a case. You guys always recommend the best cases to us. Sunday, November 13th, 2016 started quietly in the Allwine home. The family, as usual, had spent the entire day at church on Saturday. It was part of their routine. Saturday services, faith, structure. From the outside, they looked like the picture-perfect good Christian family. That evening, Stephen and their 10-year-old son, Joe, had dinner at Culver's, like they did on most Sundays while Amy held her dog training class. I always forget that we have a lot of people who listen to us internationally. Tell us what Culver's is really quickly.
I mean, it's kind of fast food, but it's a little step up above. But it's burgers and milkshakes, and
They even have like pot roast, I think, on the
yeah,
menu.
they have kind of some more like home cooking type stuff there. But
And
it's
they make,
really good.
What are their blizzard-like things called?
They're called concrete mixers.
That's right.
So yeah, it's like custard with candy mixed in.
Yeah,
essentially.
Culver's it's good. It's really
Very
good.
good. Yeah.
It's it feels like you're still eating fast food, but like you said, it's just a higher quality. When they returned home around 7:30 p.m., Joe ran into the house looking for Amy. As he walked down the hallway toward the primary bedroom, he was confused by what he saw. Amy was lying in the doorway of her bedroom. In an instant, everything changed, and Joe's life was turned upside down. Amy Allwine, 43, was lying on the floor, half in and half out of the doorway, her eyes open and her pants unzipped. She wasn't moving. Joe called out for his father. "Dad, why is Mom sleeping on the floor?" Stephen rushed to his son's side. Blood pooled beneath Amy's head, soaking the carpet. There was a gun on the floor, near the crook of Amy's left arm. But Amy was right-handed. It was a small detail, easy to miss, but in time, it would unravel everything. Stephen called 911. Just 6 months earlier, on May 31st, the FBI had come to Amy's door with a warning. Someone was trying to hire a hitman to kill her on the dark web. She couldn't imagine who would want her dead, but now she was, and the threat hadn't come from some shadowy figure online. It had been inside the house all along.
That's really scary. Having the FBI come to your door and tell you a hitman is trying to hunt you down.
Yeah, and she's a very nice, just middle-aged mom, just going about her life. And yeah, she has this shocking threat.
Wow.
Do you know much about the dark web?
I sure don't. I mean, I know what it is, but yeah.
You've never visited the dark web?
I have never been on the dark web.
I have not either, and I was tempted to for this case, but I still have not. The dark web is called that for a reason. It's where the underbelly of society exists, a hotbed of illegal activity, some of it seriously disgusting and disturbing, and impossible to be policed. It's a digital wild, wild west, the internet's evil twin. The origins of the dark web can be traced back to the late 20th century, born not from crime or conspiracy, but from the government's desire for secrecy. In the 1990s, researchers at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory developed a technology called the onion routing, or TOR for short. It was designed to protect classified communications by making them anonymous and untraceable as they traveled across the internet. It's not easily accessible to the average internet user. You need to download special software called Tor to access it, and it's not indexed by Google, Bing, or Yahoo, making it challenging to use. Tor anonymizes users by routing their internet traffic through multiple servers worldwide, making it difficult to track their identities or locations. The dark web uses its own search engines called Hidden Wiki or Grams. The dark web is largely used for illegal and illicit activity, often used as a marketplace to buy weapons, drugs, and stolen identities, hire a hitman or hacker, or to view pornography, snuff films, and live torture anonymously. Despite its reputation, not everything on the dark web is illicit. Whistleblowers, journalists, and activists in oppressive regimes use it to communicate securely and share censored information.
Well, like I said, I knew a little bit about the dark web, but not a whole lot. So that's I'm even more terrified about it now that you've explained a little bit more.
Yeah, me too. It just sounds very scary. And, like I said, so many illegal activities occur there, and a lot of not so great people, I think, are hanging out on the dark web. But not everyone who goes to the dark web, is a bad person, but
sure,
a lot of bad things happen there, especially when it comes to victimization.
Yeah, like
and
human trafficking and things
yeah,
like that.
right.
Yeah, it's really, really horrible.
Amy Louise Zutz was born on December 10th, 1972 in Woodbury, Minnesota to devout Christian fundamentalist parents who were members of the Worldwide Church of God. Amy grew up with an older sister and a younger brother in a household where faith dictated every aspect of their lives. Although Amy and her siblings attended public school in Woodbury, they were not permitted to socialize or participate in extracurricular activities outside of their church community. Within the Worldwide Church of God, Amy thrived. While her public school classmates found her a little unusual, she was well liked among her church peers. She was a cheerleader for the Worldwide Church of God basketball team and frequently had sleepovers with her two best friends. After the death of the church's founder, Herbert Armstrong, in 1986, the Worldwide Church of God leadership moved away from his teachings and embraced mainstream Protestant theology, leading to a schism in the church, resulting in the formation of several splinter groups. Amy and her family joined the group United Church of God, which retained many of Armstrong's founding beliefs. The church shares much with Seventh-day Adventists. They observe Saturday as the Sabbath, a day of rest and worship, based on the biblical account of God resting on the seventh day of creation. The church shares some beliefs with Jehovah's Witnesses, particularly in its rejection of certain mainstream Christian traditions. The Worldwide Church of God views Christmas and Easter as pagan holidays and does not observe them. Members of the church were tightly bound and not permitted to marry outside of their faith. In 1990, Amy moved to Big Sandy, Texas to attend the now-defunct Ambassador College, which was run by the Worldwide Church of God. The motto of the college was Recapturing True Values. While at the college, Amy met Stephen Allwine while working in the IT department together. Stephen was born in March 1973 in Spokane, Washington. He had a large circle of friends from his church at the college, and soon Amy was befriended by the group, and she and Stephen began dating. Amy and Stephen both enjoyed dancing and attending church social events. We don't know a lot about Stephen's background, but we don't really need to know much about Stephen. In the summer of 1996, Amy and Stephen were married. They moved to St. Paul, Minnesota to be closer to Amy's family. The couple spent every Friday night at Amy's parents' house for family dinner. Amy always brought dessert, which was frequently her mother's favorite, strawberry pie. On Saturdays, the Allwines typically spent the entire day at church. Amy and her family believed in spreading the word of God and often traveled to other countries as missionaries. In 1999, Amy went to Ukraine on a medical mission, assisting doctors and dentists with their work. Amy worked as a dog trainer, and Stephen worked as an IT expert. The Allwines settled in Cottage Grove and bought 28 acres of land that backed up to a nature preserve. They erected a prefabricated house on their lot in hopes of later building their dream house. Cottage Grove is a growing suburb located about 10 miles southeast of St. Paul, within the Twin Cities metro area. It offers a nice balance between suburban living and easy access to big city amenities. The community is known for being family-friendly with safe neighborhoods, good schools, and a strong sense of community. There are over 30 parks and more than 100 miles of trails, making it a great place for outdoor activities. Popular spots like Cottage Grove Ravine Regional Park and River Oaks Golf Course are local favorites. While many residents commute to jobs in nearby cities, the local economy includes opportunities in healthcare, education, manufacturing, and technology. Originally settled in the mid-1800s, Cottage Grove has kept its small-town charm while continuing to grow. The population is currently around 41,000 and steadily increasing as more people discover all the city has to offer.
Sounds like a lovely place.
You know, I've never been to Minnesota, but it just sounds like it's a lovely place to live.
It really does. I've been to the Minneapolis airport many times, but I've never been outside of the airport.
On Amy and Stephen's property, there was a large barn, 4 times the size of their house, which the Allwines renovated to accommodate the needs of Amy's growing dog training business, Active Dog Sports Training, LLC. Amy and Stephen had 2 dogs, a Newfoundland named Bolson and an Australian Shepherd named George. Stephen didn't care much for the dogs and wasn't involved in Amy's business. Stephen was known for his intelligence and technical skills. He installed solar panels on the roof of their home and transformed their basement into a fully equipped home office, allowing him to work remotely.
So an IT guy known for his intelligence and technical skills. So somebody who might know how to navigate the dark web, maybe?
Why are you always trying to put the cart before the horse?
I'm sorry.
In 2006, Amy and Stephen both became church deacons. They were very young to hold this honor, but it was indicative of their dedication to the church. Stephen continued to rise in the church ranks and became a church elder. As a church elder, he counseled married couples, wrote and presented sermons, sometimes traveling to other churches. Divorce was not acceptable in the church. Couples were expected to work out their differences and stay together. In their spare time, Amy and Stephen loved to dance. They created their own website, allwine.net, that demonstrated church-approved songs and dances with limited physical contact. Songs with curse words, inappropriate themes, or love between unmarried people were forbidden. They carefully listened to and interpreted song lyrics before adding them to their list. I saw some videos of Stephen and Amy dancing together, and it's not quite as
prim and proper
as it sounds. Yeah, I mean, they looked like they were having a good time.
Yeah.
Unable to conceive a child naturally, Amy and Stephen adopted a baby boy they named Joe in October 2007 when he was just 2 days old. It was an open adoption.
What is an open adoption?
It's probably different in different circumstances, but I think it allows for communication between the biological parents and the adoptive parents.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they necessarily have visitation, but I think they get sent pictures.
Okay, so it's not like
things
secretive of who the parents are or anything like that. Gotcha.
Amy had a deep love for animals, especially dogs, and a natural talent for working with them. Her kind heart, positive spirit, and natural talent with both dogs and people quickly set her apart in the world of dog training. Through hard work and genuine warmth, she became a respected leader in her field, and her business flourished. Known for her sunny disposition, generosity, and bright smile, Amy brought light to everyone around her. She saw the best in people and never passed judgment. Her passion for dogs led her to the world of agility competitions, where she quickly became a beloved and enthusiastic member of the community. Amy's Australian Shepherd excelled in competitions, which earned her admiration and respect, and prompted others to seek her expertise in training their own dogs. As her reputation grew, Amy decided to turn her passion into a business and founded Active Dog Sports Training to share her knowledge and skills with others. As much as Amy loved agility training and competing, she knew the intensity wasn't for everyone. She never pressured anyone to join the team. When nose work became the newest dog trend, Amy quickly rose to the top of the sport. It was a good alternative for dogs and owners who wanted to compete in canine sports but lacked the energy or mechanics of intense agility competitions. A former friend and client said, quote, "She could bring out the best in all of us. We'd make crazy mistakes with our dogs, and she'd find some funny way for us to learn about ourselves and us as a team. She was great."
It's maybe a dumb question, but you said that nose work was a new trend.
There are
what
no
is
dumb
that?
questions.
Okay.
It's a sport in which your dog tries to identify a scent with only their nose. While it can be just a recreational game, it's also a competitive sport in which many dog owners participate. Nose work requires mindful training for scent identification.
Interesting.
I have such fond memories of going. We used to go to the Howell Balloon Fest every year, and we would see the rock and roll canines.
Oh, yeah.
And that was one of our favorite things to do every summer.
Fun.
We haven't seen them in a few years.
Yeah, they had like the big obstacle course, and the dogs would compete and run around.
Amazing. So I think this would be a really fun job and just really rewarding. And, you know, people who love dogs are great people. And as you can tell, like, you know, we always try to pay homage to our victims and describe them, you know, as good people. But Amy was really a wonderful woman and very kind and generous, and everyone loved Amy. Amy's priorities were church, family, and dogs, in that order. To those who knew them, Amy and Stephen seemed like a rock-solid couple. They were affectionate, supportive, and genuinely happy. Members of their church looked up to them. While Stephen didn't share Amy's deep love for dogs, they each pursued their own passions with mutual respect. But beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect marriage, something wasn't quite right.
On the morning of May 31st, 2016, in Cottage Grove, Minnesota, two men arrived quietly at the home of the Allwines. One was Asher Silkey, an FBI agent from the Minneapolis field office. The other, Police Detective Terry Raymond, Cottage Grove's designated computer forensics specialist. They knocked on the front door of the modest home and asked to speak with Amy Allwine. Her husband, Stephen, answered. He was calm, polite, if not socially awkward. He told them that Amy wasn't home. The agents didn't press. They simply asked that she come to the station as soon as possible. No urgency in their tone, no explanation, just a request. Is everything okay? Stephen seemed concerned now. Is Amy in trouble? No, we just have an important matter to discuss with her, the FBI agent replied.
If an FBI agent knocked on your front door, don't you think you would
I would be
freak
freaking out, yeah,
out?
completely.
Yes. And you would be like, Tina's upstairs, go get her.
Yes. What no one outside law enforcement knew at that moment was this. The FBI had uncovered something deeply disturbing, something that suggested Amy's life might be in danger. A secret investigation was already underway and time was running out. When Amy and Stephen went to the police station, they took Amy into a private room. What they told her next would change everything. Someone, they said, was trying to have her killed. Her photo, her face, was posted on a dark website called Besa Mafia, a shadowy marketplace allegedly run by the Albanian mob. It was a place where people could put a price on someone's life, where you didn't just imagine revenge, you could buy it. And Amy's name was there. The post had gone up months earlier on February 14th, 2016, Valentine's Day. While most people were celebrating love, someone using the name Dog Day God was plotting a murder. They uploaded Amy's photo and left chilling instructions. Make it look like an accident. Amy sat there in stunned silence. She couldn't think, couldn't speak. She had no idea who would want her dead or why, but someone out there did, and they were serious and unrelenting. Amy was certain she didn't have any enemies, at least that's what she told herself, but after hearing someone wanted her dead, doubt started to creep in. She replayed every interaction, every relationship, every offhand comment, scrolling through her brain for something she might have missed, someone she might have overlooked. Who would do this to her? And why? The FBI pressed her to make a list. Anyone in her life who might bear a grudge. Clients, colleagues, friends, anyone. It felt impossible, but eventually Amy gave them a few names. The FBI's best guess was that someone was after Amy's business, jealous of her success and the connections that she so easily made. Reluctantly, she included her best friend Sharon, then fellow dog trainers Gail and Kristen, people she trusted, people who were part of her everyday life. One person not on Amy's list or the FBI's radar was her loving husband, Stephen. It seems a little surprising to me that the FBI would not consider her husband a suspect in this.
I agree.
The idea that one of these people might be plotting her murder, it was unthinkable. Out of everyone, both Amy and her husband Stephen thought the signs seemed to point most toward Kristen. She had helped Amy set up her computer network and manage her online presence. She also looked after the Allwine's dogs whenever they were out of town, and her child would sometimes play with the Allwine's son. But when the FBI interviewed Sharon, Gail, and Kristen, none of them seemed to have any reason to want Amy harmed. It truly didn't seem like Amy had any enemies. Still, the anonymous online figure known as Dog Day God claimed otherwise, saying Amy had stolen clients, had an affair with her husband, and destroyed her life. Amy was stunned. She had never had an affair, and she wasn't the type to compete with other trainers for business. And cheating, that simply wasn't part of who she was, especially not with her religious beliefs. The law enforcement agents recommended that the Allwines install a security system and surveillance cameras, which they did. In June, Stephen applied for a permit to purchase a handgun as well as a concealed carry permit. In August, he bought a Springfield 9mm handgun. They went to a shooting range to practice with the gun. Amy and Stephen decided to keep the murder plot to themselves. Amy didn't even tell her parents, who she was extremely close to. Amy slept with the handgun under her mattress, and Stephen slept with a shotgun on his side of the bed. We'll be back after a break. In December 2015, a mysterious website called Besa Mafia appeared on the dark web, claiming to be a murder-for-hire service. Besa Mafia, run by a shadowy figure named Yura, worked differently than other marketplaces on the dark web. If you were looking to have someone killed, you'd post the job, and Besa Mafia would find the best operative, based on skill and location, to complete the job. Besa Mafia acted as an intermediary and held payment in escrow until the job was complete. They claimed to have operatives worldwide. Besa Mafia was different from a lot of hitmen sites. Their reputation was based on completed work and satisfied patrons. It advertised itself as a global network of professional hitmen ready to take out targets in exchange for cryptocurrency, usually Bitcoin. It operated through the Tor network and marketed itself with an eerie sense of legitimacy with testimonials from clients. Quote, "This was the third time my husband cheated on me. I got tired of his beating and threats. Thank you, Besa Mafia, for the perfect opportunity and smooth murder. It was all made to look like an accident, and now I don't have to be afraid ever again. He was threatening that he would kill me if I submitted divorce papers. Now he is the one who is dead. Signed, Happy Woman." Wow. I don't know whether to laugh or to be terrified about that whole thing.
Yeah.
The site looked like something out of a thriller movie. The header said, quote, "If you want to kill someone or beat the shit out of them, we are the right guys." Users could browse options for hiring someone to carry out violent acts, anything from arson to beatings, even murder. Payments were requested in Bitcoin to make tracing transactions harder. The name Besa comes from an Albanian word meaning oath or honor, likely an attempt to give the site a mafia-like aura of loyalty and secrecy. To build trust with potential clients, Besa Mafia published reviews and success stories across the dark web. They even offered a way for users to make money by submitting tips on potential targets.
And people wonder why we don't post pictures of ourselves online.
Yeah. Dog Day God wrote to Yura, quote, "They say that Besa means trust, so please don't break that. For reasons that are too personal and would give away my identity, I need this bitch dead. This bitch has torn my family apart by sleeping with my husband. She is about 5'6" and she looks about 200 pounds. Dog Day God continued by providing Amy's travel schedule and vehicle information. The best time to kill her, Dog Day God explained, was during an upcoming trip to Moline, Illinois for an agility competition. Dog Day God asked how to submit payment anonymously. Yura said to pay in Bitcoin and recommended using localbitcoins.com or coinbase.com. Yura would hold payment until the job was finished. The price for the hit was $10,000, but after some haggling, they agreed on $6,000. The hitman would run into Amy with a rental car. Dog Day God requested that the killer hit Amy on the driver's side to ensure a greater impact that would more likely result in her death. Dog Day God said Amy would have a traveling companion with her, and it was okay if they were also killed. Yura instructed Dog Day God to be sure they created an alibi for themselves that day, were surrounded by people, and were seen on surveillance cameras far away from Amy. Dog Day God submitted the Bitcoin payment, but on the day of the planned hit, March 20th, 2016, the hitman balked and didn't show up. Besa Mafia cautioned their customers that the hitmen they used were often criminals and gang members and sometimes weren't reliable. Who would have thought that a hitman wouldn't always be reliable? Please notice 80% of our hitmen are gang members who do drug dealing, beatings, and occasional murder. Yura suggested Dog Day God hire a more skilled, dependable hitman, an ex-military Chechen sniper. For an additional $6,000, they would go to Amy's home to kill her, and that would likely have a better outcome. Furthermore, for an additional $2,000, the hitman would also burn down the house, destroying any evidence. Dog Day God agreed the latter would be the best approach. Dog Day God had one request. "I ask that you only get her and not the dad or kid." But the planned day came and went, and Amy was still alive. They arranged another date. That too came and went, with Amy still alive and untouched. Dog Day God was growing impatient and sent Yura another message. "I realize that things happen, but this bitch has torn my family apart by sleeping with my husband, who then left me, and is stealing clients from my business. I have had to continue to act like a friend to get information, and I cannot do it anymore. I have gone out of my way to try and get you good information. I feel that I am at risk of being suspected if I ask too many more questions. You have had 3 good attempts at her, and none of them have worked. I like the idea of shooting and fire because I think it would look like a robbery and a cover-up, but I'm at the point that I do not care how it's done. I believe that if I go about my regular routine that I will not be a suspect. If it's not done in some way by May 1st, then I would like my money back. Does that sound like enough time for you? I cannot get my hopes built up again like I did this weekend. I don't care about date or method. You have her picture and address, so you can tell her or do whatever you need to do to get the job done. I do know that she is going to take a trip to Atlanta the weekend of April 7th through 10th, but I do not know the details. I also was passing by recently when they had the garage door open, and I was able to see that they have 3 5-gallon gas cans just outside the door from the house to the garage, and what looked like a propane tank as well. I'm not sure if any of them are full, but they are there. Thanks for your help with this. I need her out of my life so I can move on. Yura sympathized. Quote, I am really sorry to hear what she did. Yes, she really is a bitch and she deserved to die.
There was a little bit of a language barrier. I think Yura did a pretty good job, but sometimes some of the communications are, a little broken English.
Yeah. On May 1st, Dog Day God offered another $25,000 if the hit could be expedited. Dog Day God even took to Reddit and wrote a negative review of Besa Mafia. Yura replied with a terse message and demanded the review be deleted, but promised it would be done soon. But when May 20th rolled around and Amy was still alive, Dog Day God was finished with Besa Mafia and demanded a full refund. That's it. Your local guys suck. They cannot do simple things even when given plenty of time. I will try again later with one of your pros, but I would need to save up for that. Can you give me a quote of what I would need to work with a pro? And then I will try to get a new order worked up in a couple months. Until then, please refund my money. I know this is serious business we're talking about, but this whole exchange is just so
it's ridiculous. Like who do they think they're dealing with? Costco? We'll give you no questions asked. We give you a refund.
Demand a refund. Yura responded that the site had been hacked, and unless they sent another 10 Bitcoin, which was about $7,000 at that time, they would release the 140 messages between them and Yura to the FBI. There was no further communications between Yura and Dog Day God. It wasn't long before the FBI got involved, and what they uncovered was both a relief and a twist. Besa Mafia was a scam. They didn't employ real hitmen. They never intended to kill Amy. The entire operation was a dark web con designed to exploit desperation and greed, but that didn't mean Amy was safe. That makes me feel a little better that is a scam. I'm sure there are other sites where you can do that sort of thing, but still. Whoever was behind the screen name Dog Day God had paid over $13,000 to have her killed. Money was gone, stolen by a cyber criminal named Yura who never planned to deliver. And while Amy's life hadn't been taken, her sense of security had. As for Dog Day God, they were confident, cocky even. They thought they'd erased their digital footprints, thought they were untouchable. They were wrong.
Behind the slick interface and criminal branding of Besa Mafia, the reality was far less cinematic. There's no confirmed evidence that any of the requested crimes were ever actually carried out. In many cases, people who tried to use the site were either ghosted after paying or blackmailed with their own messages. Things fell apart in 2016 when a major data breach exposed Besa Mafia's inner workings. Hackers released a trove of internal messages, Bitcoin transaction logs, and user records. These leaks showed conversations between clients and site admins discussing planned crimes, giving law enforcement agencies a goldmine of leads. As a result, several people who tried to hire criminals through the site were arrested. The downfall of Besa Mafia served as a warning. The dark web is full of scams that prey on people looking for illegal services. It also showed that digital breadcrumbs, even anonymous ones, can be traced, especially with tools like cryptocurrency tracking and data analysis. While Besa Mafia is long gone, similar websites continue to pop up on the dark web. Some are scams like Besa Mafia. Others may be law enforcement sting operations waiting to catch would-be criminals in the act. After Besa Mafia was exposed, Yura allegedly went on to launch several other look-alike hitman for hire sites, including Camorra Hitmen, Cosa Nostra International, and Hitman Network, all of which turned out to be scams as well. While Yura's real identity remains a mystery, some cybersecurity experts believe they might be from Eastern Europe, possibly Albania or Romania, based on their writing style. There's even speculation that Yura wasn't one person at all, but a group working under the same name. Despite Yura never being formally identified or arrested, law enforcement agencies like the FBI and Europol have used leaked data from Besa Mafia to investigate and arrest people who tried to hire criminals through the site. The case stands as a reminder that even in the anonymous corners of the internet, there are ways for investigators to track down cyber criminals and those who hire them. Even now, Yura scams or copycats inspired by them continue to surface across the dark web, proving the hitman for hire fraud remains one of the more disturbing trends in cybercrime. After the FBI suggested that the Allwines install a security system, they set up multiple motion-activated cameras around their property. However, the camera on the back of their home, where the dogs went in and out of the house, was never activated, and as time passed without incident, the Allwines became lax about setting the alarm. But in June, Amy called the police after noticing an unfamiliar blue van parked outside of their house. It was a false alarm. It was just someone parked who was visiting the park near their property. But it just showed that Amy was, still on high alert.
Oh, I can imagine you would be.
On July 24th, 2016, Amy received an untraceable email from Jane Doe at rediffmail.com from the dark web. Rediff, I believe, is based in India. Quote, Amy, I still blame you for my life falling apart. I don't know how a fat bitch like you got my husband, but because of you, he left, and my life has become shit. I'm sending you this email because it looks like you already know about me. I see you've put up a security system now and are being informed by people on the internet that people were snooping around my earlier emails. I have been assured the emails are untraceable and they won't find me. But I cannot attack you directly without them watching. Here's what's going to happen. Since I cannot get to you, I will go after everything else that you love. I know about your son, your husband, and your business. And thanks to the internet, I see you have a father and a mother in Woodbury, a brother in St. Paul, and a sister in Yardley, Pennsylvania. I've been busy researching topics on the internet, and I've found that if you inject water into a car brake line, you will cause them to fail. What would happen if the brakes in your husband's truck failed when he was hauling a heavy load? I've found how to blow up a gas meter and make it seem like an accident. I know the meter on your house and business is set on the east side, and that the meter on your parents' house is on the south side. I'm still watching your family. While I did not see your son this week, I saw last Friday that he was wearing a bright pink shirt. I see he moved into the RV. Here's how you can save your family. Commit suicide. If you do not, you will slowly see things being taken away from you, and each time you will know that you could have stopped it, which will eat you apart from the inside. By the time I am done, you will want to end it anyway. So why not do it now and save them? I think it's an easy choice. 1 life to save 6 lives. I think it's an easy choice. Your family does not need you, but you can save them. The best ways to do it are a shotgun to the head, cyanide, gunshot to the chest, explosives, hit by a train, jump from a height, inhaling household toxins or gas, slitting your wrists or throat. Remember, if you don't get it right the first time, then you will be likely committed for mental health issues and you will lose your business and possibly your family. So, I would pick a reliable method. Do not tell anyone about this email or the deal is off and I will come for your family. Unless you're heartless, selfish bitch, then I can expect to see your obituary in the paper in the next couple of weeks.
That is a terrifying email.
Isn't that horrible?
I can't even imagine getting something like that. Oh.
So scary. Amy followed her religion closely, and taking one's life was strictly forbidden. The lifelong migraines that Amy had suffered from had now worsened with this new stress in her life. On July 31st, Amy received another threatening, untraceable email from Jane. Amy, your family is in danger. Last Sunday you received an email with the solution to this problem, and you have not done anything about it. Are you so selfish that you will put your family's lives at risk? If you do not receive the email, then check your junk mail.
Always
soon.
check your junk mail, people.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just so ridiculous. Amy, visibly distraught over the 2 anonymous email threats, called FBI agent Silky. The 2 had become friends. Amy, having no one to talk to about the threat on her life, remember she wasn't telling family and friends about this, she confided in the FBI agent about the impact the death threat had on her and her family. When Silky arrived at the Allwine's home, Stephen was prepared. He had printed out the threatening emails. Amy handed over her computer, hopeful it might contain clues that could help identify whoever was targeting her. Stephen also gave the agents a laptop and his Samsung Galaxy phone. The FBI created forensic images of the devices, capturing their apps, processes, and files, then returned them a day or 2 later. Agent Silky obtained credit reports for several of Amy's connections. While there appeared to be little financial incentive for anyone to want Amy dead, the fact that someone using the alias Dog Day God had spent thousands of dollars to have her killed pointed to a deeply personal motive. Disturbingly, the person behind the plot had specifically told the hitman for hire, Yura, to spare Amy's husband, raising questions that naturally led investigators to consider Stephen as a potential suspect. Agent Silky spoke with Stephen and conducted digital imaging of his devices, but the investigation into him didn't go any further. He was not considered a suspect. The FBI largely handled the investigation and kept the Cottage Grove Police Department out of the loop. Amy decided to enroll in an 8-week Cottage Grove Citizens Police Department class to learn more about how they operated in hopes of keeping herself and her family safe. She didn't share the threats in her life with others that ran the program or the attendees. When Amy's class was complete, she got to go on a ride-along with the K-9 unit. Amy loved the experience, and especially working with the police dogs. The officers and fellow participants loved working with Amy. They all celebrated by going out to dinner together after their graduation ceremony. Amy would be dead 2 weeks later.
On Sunday, November 13th, 2016, Amy wasn't feeling well. She felt dizzy, tired, and nauseous. Stephen worked from home and did tech support for 2 companies, Opantix and Cigna. On Sunday, he was scheduled to work tech support for Opantix from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. He worked until noon, but records showed that he never logged back in after his lunch break. Amy's dad was at the house installing a new doggy door in the garage. He finished up around 2 p.m. and was about 5 minutes down the road when Stephen called and asked him if he could return to pick up Joe for the afternoon so that he could take Amy to urgent care. As the day progressed, Amy felt worse, but when Stephen asked her if she wanted to go to the doctor, she declined. Amy asked another trainer to fill in for her classes. The class met on the Allwine's property in their barn from about 4:30 to 5:45. The students recalled hearing the screeching of tires peeling out of the Allwine's driveway at some point. At 5:29 p.m., Stephen left to pick up Joe from Amy's parents for his weekly Ninja Warrior class at the local gym. When he realized that he forgot to bring Joe's workout clothes, they decided to skip the class and instead went to Culver's for dinner, a weekly Sunday ritual for the pair. When they returned home, 10-year-old Joe ran into the house to see his mom and found Amy lying between the hallway and the primary bedroom. Her head lay in a pool of blood on the carpet, a 9mm handgun by her left side, a shell casing by her right foot. Joe ran to get his father. Joe asked why Amy was sleeping on the floor, and Stephen responded, "She's probably dead." Stephen called 911.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
I think my wife shot herself. There's blood all over.
Shot herself with a gun?
It looks like it.
Does she still have a weapon?
I don't know. We just got
Where did
home
she shoot
here.
herself?
I don't know. I just saw her in blood. I can't tell where she shot. I don't know.
Are we gonna remarry?
I don't know, bud.
That's one of the oddest 911 calls we've heard.
It's a very odd 911 call, both like his demeanor and his son. How old is his son? I mean,
He's 10.
yeah, it's heartbreaking to hear his son.
I think the son hasn't processed what's
Right.
going
Oh,
on.
Yeah. Yeah, as a 10-year-old, you wouldn't like at that point, obviously, but it's a strange call. His demeanor
Very,
is odd.
yeah.
Sergeant Gwen Martin, who had befriended Amy when she was in the Cottage Grove Citizens Police Department program, was one of the 3 responding officers. She burst into tears when she saw Amy sprawled on the floor, clearly dead. She went back to her cruiser to regain her composure and did a quick search on police calls to the Allwine home. She was shocked to see the report from 5 months earlier of the threat to Amy's life. She called Detective Randy McAllister and asked him to come to the crime scene as soon as possible. The agency responsible for investigating Amy's death now shifted back to the Cottage Grove Police Department because the crime had happened in their jurisdiction. The FBI handed over the files that they had been keeping to themselves. The Cottage Grove police thought that things about the crime scene seemed off. To investigators, it looked less like a suicide and more like a carefully staged crime scene. The gun was near her left arm, but she was right-handed. There was no blood or gunshot residue on her hands. There was dog hair everywhere through the house, but not in front of the bedroom door where Amy lay. That area of the floor seemed to have been recently cleaned. The wood floor was hazy, as if it had been wiped with a cleaning agent. Later, when luminol was applied to the area, it lit up like a Christmas tree.
I should apologize for that bad simile there.
It's a bad simile. It strikes me as odd that someone would clean up this scene. Like if they were trying to stage it like a suicide, it seems like you would just leave it without cleaning it up. Seems like that would be an obvious thing that police would pick up on.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had cleaned up a lot of blood. The luminol also revealed footprints up and down the hallway. It appeared that Amy had been shot in the hallway and then moved closer to her bedroom. There was no blood spatter anywhere in the bedroom.
If you were to shoot yourself to take your own life, you wouldn't do it in the middle of the hallway. You
Right.
would lay down on a bed or a chair or something.
Yeah, exactly. In the kitchen, pumpkins were cooking in a roasting oven on the counter for a pie that Amy was planning on baking later. Would someone be baking a pie if they planned on taking their life? I'm going to say no. Amy's parents and their church pastor arrived at the house.
When Amy's parents saw her, which must have been so horrible to see,
yeah.
one of them first said, "Why would the gun be by her left side? She's right-handed."
Wow, that's pretty perceptive.
Mm-hmm.
They were devastated, but also confused. Why would Amy take her own life? She loved her family, her church, her pets, and her career. Life was going well, and there was no reason to suspect she was feeling suicidal. And there was no note. Amy seemed like one of the last people who would abruptly leave the world without leaving an explanation. Stephen went to the police station and agreed to provide his DNA and submit to a gunshot residue test. Later, it was revealed he tested positive for gunshot residue, but it was on the low end. We'll be back after a break.
Before we jump back, I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
I have a halftime snack. Well,
Excellent.
I brought you our listener, KK. I don't think that's her name. That's just her Instagram handle. Recommended we try these. And I am obsessed. They're so good. They're Pop'ems light and crispy pretzel snacks by Snack Factory.
Okay.
I have two flavors for you. One is sea salt. The other is golden mustard barbecue. I wanted the cheddar, but they must have been out. And this is what they put in our grocery delivery order.
Wow.
So do you want to try the Pop'ems?
Yeah, for sure.
What did you think of the Pop'ems?
They were really good.
Aren't
They don't look like pretzels at all, but they
No.
taste like pretzels. But yeah, I thought they were yummy.
But they're like a airier pretzel. I don't even know how to
Yeah.
describe it, but definitely check them out. If I just got them at Meijer, so I think they're readily available anywhere.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the halftime snack. That's good.
You're welcome. Sometimes I get a snack and I can't wait for you to try it. So that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't keep eating the Pop'ems without sharing them with you.
I see.
Which flavor did you prefer?
I think I like the sea salt ones.
I like the sea salt ones a lot too.
Yeah.
What do you rate them?
I would probably give them 8 out of 10.
I think I'd give the sea salt ones 10 out of 10. I think we're too easy of graders, but just really like our snacks. 2 days after Amy's death, police asked Stephen to come in for questioning. He arrived with his pastor and attorney. When asked if there was anyone who might want Amy dead, he mentioned Kristen again. She knew everything about the couple and Amy's travel schedule. Kristen was interviewed, but again, not considered a suspect. Stephen admitted that Amy had a $700,000 life insurance policy. During the interview, Stephen dropped a bombshell. He'd been unfaithful in his marriage to Amy. You don't look at all surprised.
I am not at all surprised.
He met someone on the dating website, Ashley Madison.
Wow, we haven't heard about Ashley Madison for a little while.
Ashley Madison is famous for its slogan, "Life is short, have an affair." I didn't realize on Ashley Madison that women don't have to pay. I found this in research, not by going to their website. But women don't have to pay, but men do. What do you think about that?
It doesn't actually surprise me. I think it's like, places that, like nightclubs that let women in for free but charge men a cover.
Yeah. Stephen admitted to investigators that his first date ended in disaster when she left to go to the bathroom and never returned. But he had better luck on his second date in October 2015 with a woman named Michelle Woodward. Michelle, who suffered from extreme anxiety and depression, claimed to Stephen that she was in an open marriage. They met at restaurants or coffee shops and, as the relationship progressed, at each other's houses if their spouses were away. Stephen brought Michelle along on 2 work trips. Investigators interviewed Michelle, and she admitted that she had been intertwined with Stephen for several months. She had visited the Allwine home when Amy was out of town. She'd entered through the back door at Stephen's request to avoid their surveillance cameras. Michelle told law enforcement that she believed that Stephen was smart enough to pull off the plot to kill his wife and was capable of it. About a month before Amy's death, Stephen told Michelle that he decided to rededicate himself to his marriage. He claimed to detectives that the relationship had run its course. He and Michelle remained friends and saw each other occasionally. Here we're going to take a little Ashley Madison detour. The Ashley Madison hack was a massive cybersecurity breach that occurred in July 2015, exposing the personal data of millions of users from the controversial dating site designed for extramarital affairs. The site, owned by Avid Life Media, now called Ruby Life, promised users anonymity and discretion. Say it, say it.
Anonymity.
Anonymity, what he said. However, a group of hackers known as the Impact Team infiltrated the company's servers and stole highly sensitive user information. The hackers initially demanded that the site be shut down, threatening to release the stolen data if their demands were not met. When the company refused, the hackers followed through, leaking nearly 32 million accounts on the dark web in August 2015. The data dump included names, usernames, email addresses, credit card transactions, messages, and profile details.
There were so many men that were freaking out at that point in time.
The breach had serious consequences for Ashley Madison's users, with many facing divorces, job losses, and public humiliation. Tragically, some individuals linked to the leak died by suicide, highlighting the devastating personal impact of the hack. In response, Ashley Madison faced multiple lawsuits, ultimately agreeing to a $11.2 million settlement for affected users. Additionally, Avid Life Media was fined $1.6 million for misleading users about the security of their data, including falsely offering a full delete feature that did not actually erase user information. The company later rebranded, shifting its marketing away from explicitly promoting affairs and implementing stricter security measures. Despite extensive investigations, the Impact Team was never identified and no arrests were made. Many experts believe the attack may have been carried out by insiders or former employees familiar with the company's security flaws. The Ashley Madison hack remains one of the most infamous data breaches in history, serving as a cautionary tale about online privacy, cybersecurity, and the risks of trusting websites that promise secrecy. The Ashley Madison hack exposed several high-profile individuals, including government officials, military personnel, and public figures. Among them was Josh Duggar, a former TV reality star and conservative activist who admitted to using the site after his name appeared in the leaked data. Sam Rader, a Christian YouTube vlogger known for his family-oriented content, was also implicated. Thousands of U.S. government and military email addresses were also found in the breach, raising security concerns and prompting investigations. Additionally, several religious leaders and clergy members were implicated, leading to resignations and public backlash. The leak also included corporate executives and professionals, though many denied actively using the service. While rumors circulated about celebrities being involved, Ashley Madison did not verify email addresses, resulting in some false associations. The breach had significant personal and professional consequences, with some individuals facing divorces, job losses, and public humiliation. I believe that more people could have been exposed, but some of their identities, some people did a better job hiding their identities than others.
Okay, yep.
Amy's autopsy revealed that the single fatal gunshot wound caused her death. The bullet shot near her ear went back to front, left to right, and slightly downward. There was no stippling on Amy's skin. Remind us what stippling is.
Oh, that's like when you shoot close range to skin, it gets like gunshot residue, I think, on the skin. Yeah.
And, well, it kind of burns the skin.
Yeah.
And you would expect if you were, shooting yourself,
right,
that there would
be
stippling.
Very close range, yeah.
Amy's estimated time of death was 3 p.m., soon after Amy's dad had picked up Joe for the afternoon. After Amy's death, Stephen and Joe moved in with her parents. They didn't want to live in the house where Amy had been killed.
Friends and neighbors of the Allwines were interviewed by police. One neighbor noted that he thought it was odd that smoke was billowing from their chimney. One would expect to see smoke in a chimney in Minnesota in November, but it had been unseasonably warm that day. Had someone burned evidence? When the 9mm gun was swabbed for DNA, profiles from both Amy and Stephen were found, but more of his DNA was found on the grip. There were 9 smeared bloodstains on the hardwood floor in the hallway and on both sides of the bedroom door. A warrant was issued to search the Allwine home. 66 devices were removed from the home and analyzed by the FBI. 66 devices?
We need to count our devices just to see for comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I bet we have close to that many. The other day I lost my AirPods. Again. But I found them. But I had to go under Find My, and it said, like, you have 23 devices. And I was like, do I?
Wow. Well, a lot of those are old, right?
Really old.
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
like we all used to have mini iPads, and I don't think any of us really use those anymore.
Yeah.
So those are in there. But yeah, a lot of things that we don't use are in there still. But yeah, I think 66 is probably like, because I think most of them were his.
Yeah. Well, he was an IT guy, so not too out of the ordinary.
But they actually said that his basement, his, what do you call it? His office, or it was, even for an IT guy, it was very elaborate. Okay.
Once the devices were in law enforcement's hands, his internet activity proved to be very interesting. He had visited sites such as lonelymilf.com, naughtydates.com, and Backpage. There was proof on his devices that he had hired several escorts in the past. He had driven to Iowa twice for hookups. Stephen had told investigators that he didn't know what the dark web was or how to access it, but his devices proved otherwise. He had been accessing the dark web since 2014. The software Tor and Tails were both found on his MacBook Pro. Tor enables you to use the dark web, and Tails erases your activity. Stephen had searched Reddit for Tails. According to their website, Tails uses the Tor network to protect your privacy online and help you avoid censorship, to enjoy the internet like it should be.
Oh boy. I was surprised that he had a MacBook Pro. Like, we're a big Apple family, but I thought like guys that were like IT guys preferred PCs.
I think that used to be true, but I think like in more recent years, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think IT guys could equally prefer a Mac to a PC.
Okay.
A search, how to download Tails on an Acer computer, was found on one of Stephen's devices, but among the 66 devices seized, there was no Acer computer. Police knew a device had been destroyed or was being hidden. As the investigation continued, computer forensics experts decided to narrow in on the dark web to see if Dog Day God had any other illicit interactions. Sure enough, they found that they had sought a drug called scopolamine on a dark web marketplace called Dream Market. Scopolamine is often in patch form and used to prevent nausea or vomiting, especially in motion sickness or recovery from a surgical procedure. It's often called the zombie drug. In excess, the drug causes disorientation, dizziness, and hallucinations. Scopolamine in its powdered form is odorless and tasteless and easily dissolves in liquid. When Amy's blood was tested for the scopolamine, she was found to have 45 times the dosage in her system, a life-threatening dose. On the day of her death, Amy had searched Vertigo, but then her searches became increasingly incoherent and were just random letters as her condition worsened. Stephen quickly became the only suspect in Amy's death, but police didn't have a smoking gun. All the evidence was circumstantial. With Stephen being an expert in IT, investigators honed in on his devices and they dug deep. The Cottage Grove Police Department examined the phone that Stephen had previously handed over to the FBI. They discovered two apps, Orfox and Orbot, both of which are commonly used to access the dark web. Alongside them were text messages containing confirmation codes from Stephen's purchase from local bitcoins. Strangely, these messages appeared to have been overlooked, or at least underappreciated during the FBI's initial review. On Stephen's Notes app on his iPhone, there was a note found with a 34-character Bitcoin wallet. The note had been deleted almost immediately, but it remained in his iCloud. Investigators knew they were onto something. This Bitcoin wallet was the same that Dog Day God had sent to Ura for payment for the hitman. Now they had evidence that proved that Stephen and Dog Day God were one and the same. This was the smoking gun that they had been looking for. The FBI could pinpoint Stephen's actions from his computer minute by minute that coincided with Dog Day God's activity on the dark web. For example, Stephen posted a picture of Amy on their family website, allwine.net, from their Hawaiian vacation, minutes before Dog Day God posted the same picture on Besa Mafia when attempting to hire the hitman. Furthermore, while Stephen had covered his dark web tracks, He did not delete the Google searches on his other devices. He had searched about Moline, Illinois, the first location where Amy was supposed to be killed, and had recently visited the website that carried her life insurance policy.
Do you understand that? I thought that was a little confusing, like the whole Bitcoin wallet thing and how they were able to link these two accounts, and then they knew it must be Stephen.
Yeah, I think it made sense to me. I mean, Bitcoin it's super confusing, but I think like that, having that wallet code allows you to kind of match up the transaction.
Yeah, and because it's the 34 unique characters, it's impossible that anyone else would have those same set of numbers in their phone.
In March 2016, on his 43rd birthday, Stephen Allwine had walked into a Wendy's carrying $7,000 in cash. He didn't know it yet, but he had just locked his keys in his car. He was nervous, and for good reason. He was meeting a mysterious man from localbitcoins.com to purchase Bitcoin with the cash that he had recently received from pawned $10,000 worth of silver coins and bars to get the cash, trying to skirt suspicion instead of withdrawing a large sum from his bank account. With a scan of a QR code, his Bitcoin wallet was all set up. Later that day, he met his mistress, Michelle Woodward, for lunch at the Blue Door Pub.
It surprised me that he bought Bitcoin in person. I didn't know that was something that you could do.
I didn't either. I do know there are ATMs where you can buy Bitcoin, but I didn't know you could like meet up with somebody in person and make a transaction. But I guess it makes sense.
It's all so confusing to me.
It is.
I know that money changes, like the dollar changes every day, and you know, wherever you live, your money is worth a different amount every day. But Bitcoin fluctuates so much from day to day.
Yeah.
I don't know how you keep track of how much you have.
Yeah.
On January 20th, 2017, Stephen was arrested after he dropped Joe off at school. He was charged with second-degree murder. His bail was set at $500,000, which he paid. Upon his release, he was required to wear an ankle monitor and only have supervised visits with Joe, who was living with his grandparents. 2 weeks after his release from jail, Stephen was arrested again after having contact with Joe. He again posted bail that was set at $600,000. Not sure. Stephen had a lot of money, I guess. In March 2017, a grand jury reviewed his case and he was recharged, this time with first-degree murder.
Oh, that's good. I was going to ask. Second-degree murder didn't make any sense when he was planning all this stuff for so long.
I think as the investigation unfolded, they found more that they were able to charge him with first degree. He was once again arrested with a bail set at $1 million, and he pleaded not guilty. He didn't have the additional funds and remained in jail until his trial in 2018. The prosecution argued that because of his position of authority in the Church of God, he couldn't divorce his wife, Amy. After hiring a faux hitman and losing thousands of dollars, he became desperate and killed Amy himself so he could live out his sexual fantasies with other women. Stephen's lawyers used the good guy defense. Stephen was a church elder and a leader in his community. He had no criminal record. Since his arrest, he'd been a model prisoner, preached about God to his fellow inmates, and had even converted 3 atheists. Stephen did not testify at his trial. His defense attorney said they spoke exhaustively about the decision, but in the end they decided that it was better he not testify. The trial lasted for 8 days. The jury deliberated for about 6 hours before they found Stephen guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. Before he was sentenced, Amy's friends and family read victim impact statements, but few were openly critical of Stephen. In a letter submitted to the court, Amy's parents referred to Stephen's betrayal and said he was a, quote, selfish person and forgiveness will take time. I guess their religion must, tell them that forgiveness is, one of the important tenets that they must follow. Before Stephen was sentenced, then 44, he addressed the court in a rambling and disjointed 8-minute statement that I'm about to read to you. No, just kidding.
God, please don't.
He said he loved Amy and did not kill her. Quote, I've never asked for anything except to work for God. I never went to sleep, and I never woke up without kissing her. The grief of losing her is tremendous. No one ever talked bad about our relationship. I'm going to take my Bible to St. Cloud Prison and see what happens. Stephen said he has met drug addicts, child molesters, and kidnappers while in the county jail, and he has been conducting his Bible study. In his last trial before retirement, Judge B. William Ekstrom, clearly annoyed, did not buy Stephen's account. Quote, Mr. Allwine, my perceptions aren't going to alter the sentence in this case, but my perception is that you're an incredible actor, that you can turn tears on and off, that you are a hypocrite, and you are a cold and calculating killer.
Boom.
He sentenced Allwine to life in prison without parole. After the sentencing, Washington County Assistant Attorney Frank Fink said, "This is an entirely circumstantial case. It was like putting a jigsaw puzzle together for the jury to convict him." Washington County Assistant Attorney Jamie Lynn Krauser said, "Prosecutors remained focused on the victim. At the end of the day, justice was served, and I'm glad for Amy and her family." After the verdict, Amy's friends and family released the following statement, quote, "We can summon no words to describe life without Amy. We love her and miss her tremendously. We now turn to the path ahead of privately healing and grieving." The Council of Elders at the United Church of God removed Stephen from ministerial roles in 2017 when he was charged with Amy's murder. After his sentencing, they released the following statement, quote, "Because of the sensational nature of the facts surrounding this case, a considerable number of international and national media outlets covered the events leading up to and including the trial. It is our fervent hope that we all continue praying to our merciful Father about the entire situation and be compassionate about what the extended families are going through. Here is an important point. While we certainly respect the verdict, at the same time, we personally are not to sit in judgment. We can have confidence that our all-knowing God is aware of all aspects regarding this tragic situation. As a result, we will not be making speculative comments about the verdict." Their statement really bothered me because it had said nothing about Amy being a valuable person and that she would be missed and her life was meaningful.
Yeah, you would think they would do that.
In her book, The Darkest Web by Eileen Ormsby, she said that she struck up a friendship of sorts with Ura, and Ura made a comment, quote, "I wish I could have stalled him longer. He should have gotten a divorce. I don't like when religion makes people kill people. Religion should cause people to forgive, let go, and be happy."
I'm sorry, but taking advice from this
From a
guy who
cyber
started a con on the dark web for killing people,
So I think that Ura, if you're to believe that it's an individual, it almost seems to me like it's a network of individuals, but they just kind of spun it. So it's like, well, we didn't do anything. We were collecting these names to give to law enforcement.
Okay, right.
Rest in peace, Amy. She was a lovely woman who deserved so much more out of life.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes me so sad when these women she really was dedicated to her husband and would have done anything for him to keep her marriage and to, you know, and that's how he treated her.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
So I believe that Joe has continued to live with his grandparents. Stephen has had many appeals and he has lost them all. In April of 2022, 5 men were arrested in Romania, believed to be part of the Besa Mafia scam. And it's unclear if Ura was among them. 48 Hours covered this story in 2 parts, and it's at our sources. I recommend that you go watch it. But Peter Van Sant, who is like their Keith Morrison, he just did a really good job on this case. But he reached out on a lark to Ura for an interview, and to everyone's surprise, Ura agreed, but under one condition: the 48 Hours would have to travel to London, and they did. But when they arrived, Ura never showed up. Instead, he sent a video diary. In the video, Ura claimed that he wanted to expose the murder-for-hire operations, and he handed them a bunch of individuals that have since been arrested.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting episode. I recommend that you go watch it. I wonder where Amy's dogs were during the murder.
Yeah, I don't know. Did she keep them at a kennel? Or
I think they must have been in some sort of kennel.
Yeah.
But she was having her class, so they probably weren't like in the barn, but yeah, maybe they had kennels for them in the house.
Yeah.
I wish they would have attacked.
Yeah.
Do you believe that he was guilty?
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious to me.
Do you think that the FBI could have saved Amy?
I mean, you wonder, because it was obvious that the person who was trying to have her killed was serious about it, because they had paid thousands of dollars.
And it's always the husband. That's not always the husband, but
yeah,
it's always the husband.
Yeah,
so
why
the
wouldn't
fact
that
that
be
they dismissed him and didn't look into him further is really sad.
Yeah,
because
that's
I
a really
believe
good
that
point.
Amy should have been saved.
Yeah, it seems like it. And I think that you mentioned that there was when they made a copy of a couple of his devices early on, that there were some things on there that they either missed or misinterpreted, but they could have probably figured it out earlier that he was the one. So yeah, it's really sad that they didn't catch that sooner. I didn't think of that.
It never ceases to amaze me, like these people that think that, oh, it'll be bad for my reputation if I get divorced, or, my church will be upset with me, when it's just, and how do you think, Stephen Allwine, that your life is worth more than your wife's?
Right.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, and if you're truly religious, like how can you think that God would be okay with doing that? I mean, it really just doesn't make any sense, and it's so frustrating to hear this story over and over again.
Before we go, I want to tell you about the bad day I had the other day.
Oh.
Like, it was pretty bad. I didn't tell you during the day because by the time I got home, I was like, okay, everything's fine. But I went to the Meijer to pick up our groceries. A lot of times I just do the, click, and then you drive to the Meijer and you pick up your groceries.
Yep.
And, sometimes there's some snafus there.
Right.
And we have 2 Meijers. You know where this is going already. We have 2 Meijers that are, like, one's a little closer and one's a little further.
Okay.
Well, the one, like, closer to Ann Arbor, okay, I hope they're not listening, but they do a better job than the one that's closer to us, right?
Right, yeah.
And I ordered from the one in Ann Arbor that's a little further away. I got there, I'm like, it's a beautiful day, and, windows rolled down, enjoying the music. I get there and I'm like, hey, here to pick up my groceries. And they're like, we'll be right out. I'm like, okay. And 5 minutes later, I get a call and they're like, where are you? Oh. So I went to the wrong Meijer, which, of course was a bummer. But I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'll just, like, I would have been so embarrassed a few years ago, but now I'm just like, I just do so many dumb things. It's just, it's just an average Tuesday. So I'm like, okay, so I go get the groceries. And then I decide, like I said, it's a beautiful day. I'm going to go to the car wash. And, for a lot of people, car washes are anxiety inducing.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
They weren't for me until I have the car that I have now. And I've had it for a while, but I think I've only gone through the car wash once.
Yes.
So I either go through the one where you do it yourself, or sometimes we'll wash it at home. I don't know. So I pull up to the Zippy Auto Wash, which it's a nice place. There's a nice attendant there, and they spray your car down with their power washer before you head into the stall.
Right.
He's waving me into the stall, which that gives me anxiety because I'm always nervous that I'm not going to be on the track.
Make sure your wheel is right.
Yeah, and they're very judgmental about it. And they could just give you like this mean face. But surprisingly, even though it was a nice day, they weren't really busy. So he's waving me in, and I get there, and then I put my car in neutral, and then he's like shaking his head frantically. My car isn't really in neutral.
Right.
It has like that stupid
It's like a parking
brake.
lock type of thing or something.
And I can't get it off.
Yeah.
I'm struggling, and I'm pushing like every button. And you know me, like I get anxious, and then it's all over. Like I can't think straight.
Yeah.
So then this poor guy, he couldn't have been nicer. I need to like go bake him a cake or cookies or something because he was so sweet. He was like, putting his head, and he was like, okay, try this button, try this. And he was totally on Team Tina.
Yeah.
He was rooting for me, but I just couldn't follow through. And really, it was like five long minutes. And people are like backed up behind me. And he's like, don't worry about them. We're going to get you through this. And then he was like, you know what? You need to just drive through. And I was like, how do I drive through? And he's like, just stay. And Pete over here, he's going to wave you down. So I'm driving through the car wash in drive, and then I'm so like anxious, and like there's like my window is rolled down because I'm like Pete's like talking me through the line, and then like soap is hitting me in the face. And finally, like I get down to the end of the line. I'm just like, I wanted to die. And then Pete's like so nice. He's like, just go sit over there and look at your instructor's manual, and then just come right through. We'll just wave you through, no big deal. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I'll do that. So then I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like still pressing all these buttons. And I know you guys think I'm a idiot, which you're not wrong. So anyway, and then Pete, which isn't really his name, but he comes out and he's like, are you all right? And he's like giving me a towel. I'm like, these are the nicest people ever. And the person at Meijer also couldn't have been sweeter.
Yeah.
So here I am, just like, wanting to like move to Idaho because that's how I like 10, 15 years ago, I would have been like, I can't live here anymore.
Yeah.
Because these people are going to know what an idiot I am. So anyway.
People are really nice.
Yeah, he was really nice. And then I was like, I had a couple of other errands, and I'm like, maybe I'll just come back. And I was going to ask you to like maybe go with me because I seriously was just like, I just needed to get out of there. So then I was like, I'm going to go to the mall. You would think I would just go home.
Yeah,
at this
I would
point.
have just gone home by
But
then.
I decided, you remember you got me like this nice bracelet on Valentine's Day, and it's April, and I still haven't returned. And I'm like, they're never going to take it back.
Yeah.
But that was a very pleasant experience when I went to the jewelry store, and they gladly let me exchange it and offered me a job, which was very nice. Yeah, I was like, well, she's like, oh, you don't need to podcast with your husband anymore. Come work for us. That was really sweet. But then as I'm leaving the mall, which our mall is like pretty much deserted and abandoned at this point. Yeah, it's really sad. But leaving the mall and there's a goose, and this guy looks at me, he's like, be careful. That goose is really fierce. And I was like, and I just laughed and I was like, well, thanks, but I think I can handle a goose. Spoiler alert. I could not handle goose.
Geese are scary.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I have I have a nice big purse, and I was like, I almost hit the goose with the purse because I'm like trying to walk by it, and I was just kind of laughing at the guy, and the goose is hissing at me, running for me. So I made it to my car, but it was really scary.
What a day.
Yeah. So then I came home and everything was okay. Well, I went to Costco, but it was pretty much average Costco. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, I will say I took your car into a car wash once, and I had this exact same experience.
Yeah.
The guy, it was the same thing, different car wash. But the guy was leaning in, we were trying to figure it out. We were there for 5 minutes trying to figure out what button to push.
Well, I think there's 2 different buttons that can have the same effect.
Yeah.
And I think I have it figured out now, but I'm not after some therapy, maybe I'm going to be able to go through a car wash again. But
that is very
But I'm just the kind of person, I hate to put anyone out.
Right.
So the fact that people were lining up behind me and these poor guys could not have been nicer.
Yeah.
So it was all just making me oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. And that is why you don't need to ever leave your house, people. Have your groceries delivered. Wash your car at home. I don't know.
Oh,
anyway.
Man. Wow. That is a crazy day.
Thank you so much to listener Amanda for recommending this case.
Yeah.
Thank you to Anne for the Entenmann snack. Thanks for KK for the pretzel recommendation. You listeners are such a big part of our show, and we truly love you, and we appreciate you, and you're the best.
Yeah, we really do. Thank you so much.
Please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Find us on social media or send us an email at lovemarykill@gmail.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please consider supporting us on patreon.com/lovemarykill. One tier, $5 a month for early ad-free access and a monthly bonus episode, which we will be recording very soon. Until next time.
Don't kill your wife.
And don't kill your husband.